My junior year of college, my dad was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Between my last 2 years of college and starting grad school just 6 months after he died, I experienced the entire spectrum of how to, and more importantly, how not to treat students who are going through big life events. When I started my PhD at UK, I knew my main goal as an instructor was to treat all of my students as people first and as students second. I wanted to get to know my students as people so that I could better support them as students. I started thinking about strategies for accomplishing this goal, but I also wanted to accomplish other goals. I teach 50 minutes 3 times a week, so I wanted to cram as much in there as possible. I teach in the communication department, and when I started at UK, I was teaching persuasive speaking. I wanted my students to participate in class, get to know their fellow classmates, have really mini, non-threatening public speaking practice. And quite frankly, I was teaching to a room full of masks, and I needed something to get to know the eyes and the foreheads in the room. So I implemented daily attendance questions. They start out as simple, really harmless questions like, what's your favorite color? Or if you could have a superpower, what would it be? But as the semester progresses and I get to know my students better, I see that sometimes they want to share more. I ask them which class they're most stressed about for midterms, a person they admire, or what their favorite gift they've ever received has been. And I find myself really getting to know these students. With a classroom of mostly seniors once, a week after a hard test, I asked them to share their most unpopular opinions, and they loved that one. And they didn't disappoint. They were quite unpopular opinions. Not only does my attendance question accomplish the goals of getting to know my students, but I've seen my students speaking out at least once a day, and I've also seen it create a real sense of community in the classroom. My students discover connections between each other. They start wanting to share more. And quite frankly, it makes me seem a little bit less intimidating as an instructor because I share my answers too. My students feel comfortable raising their hands when something I say just doesn't really make sense and asking for help before they get behind. In the fall semester, I'll be teaching a class I've never taught before, but I have no doubt that I'll keep my daily attendance questions. Even if my students aren't wearing masks or they don't necessarily need that extra public speaking practice, this strategy has helped me create a sense of community in my classroom, allowed me to connect with my students and them to connect with each other. And most importantly, it's helped me treat these 18 to 22-year-olds enrolled in my classes as not just students, but as people too.